Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
Game 2 of the 2013 season rolls in from Chase Field. Can the Cardinals slow down the D-backs offense? We're about to find out. Beautiful night for baseball here at Chase Field in Arizona. Tonight, the Arizona Diamondbacks play host to the St. Louis Cardinals. At 3:30 this afternoon, Jaime Garcia arrived at the stadium. Tonight, he'll make his season debut. And welcome to the broadcast booth, and welcome to Cardinals baseball here on Fox Sports Midwest. That's the Mad Hungarian Al Hrabosky. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Spring training, very impressive for Jaime Garcia. Great to see that he's healthy. We'll see, though, Al, if it carries over to the regular season.
Well, I think that's the key. Psychologically, he now feels he's healthy, and he's pitching like that. The only next obstacle that he has to conquer is his pitching on the road. He really has had much different starts when he's at home, a little poorer on the road.
We saw an impressive offense last night from Arizona. Will that carry over to tonight? Well, we're about to find out. The Cardinals face Trevor Cahill, and it's Jaime Garcia getting the start for St. Louis. Baseball is coming up. The Diamondbacks 81-81, a third-place finish in the West. They felt they had to shake up their offense. They did that. Traded away Justin Upton. Traded away Chris Young. The replacements last night, Parra and Pollock, paid dividends. 5 for 8, 2 runs, 2 RBIs. The Diamondbacks collectively, 15 hits total against St. Louis. Adam Wainwright and the Cardinals bullpen. Kurt Gibson and the Diamondbacks hope that continues tonight. Jaime Garcia hoping to shut them down. Cards and Diamondbacks coming up tonight on Fox Sports Midwest. first RBI. It's the season debut for lefty Jaime Garcia. Baseball comes your way next. Budweiser, great times are waiting. Designated driver. See your Mid-America Chevy dealer. Log on to stlchevy.com. Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by Steak and Shake, just no equal. Beautiful night here in Arizona. Mike Matheny and the Cardinals looking for their first win of this 2013 campaign. Let's take a look at Mike's lineup for tonight. John Jay will lead it off, followed by Matt Carpenter, then Matt Holliday. Craig is the cleanup man. Carlos Beltran, Yadier Molina, Descalso, Cosma, and Garcia. The defense brought to you by Dobbs, Marte, Pollock, and Parra in the outfield. Prado, Pennington, Hill, and Goldschmidt on the right side of the infield. Miguel Montero is behind the plate. And the first pitch taken by John Jay is a strike from Trevor Cahill.
Second year for Cahill with the Diamondbacks. He consistently will win at least 10 games. He was an 18-game winner with Oakland. And Dan, his last spring outing, he was outstanding. He went 5 2/3 innings with 11 strikeouts and no walks. But he is known as a ground ball monster. He is their version of Westbrook.
John Jay last night did pick up a base hit. He was 1 for 4. The Cardinals offense shut down in the season opener. 5 for 30 collectively as a team, and they struck out 10 times. Here's a 1-2 pitch.
Another aspect of that game is they only had 1 walk. So got to go out there. It was really a reversal. The Diamondbacks had the offense the Cardinals are always looking for. That real pesky grind about. And Kirk Gibson could have been more proud of his team.
Jay waves at it, strikes out. So 2 ground ball pitchers as Cahill goes tonight. We will not see Westbrook until this weekend in San Francisco.
I think the last couple of years they've had 67. Both of them magic numbers, 67 double plays thrown behind them.
Talk about the spring that Cahill had, a 1.86 ERA. There's Matt Carpenter, who's 2-1 in the spring over 5 starts. Carpenter last night at third base, 1 for 4 with a run scored.
That game was kind of a do-over, isn't it? Nothing really went right in that ball game. Wainwright was very good the first few innings, and then he got hit by the line drive. Offense got off to a lead in the first inning, but then really was non-existent, and defense was pretty poor along with the base running.
So what you're saying, Al, it's a do-over. 2-1 is popped foul and out of play.
It's a game we think we will see very rarely from this team.
You'd like to think so. And the upside with this Cardinals team coming into the season is so high. And one of the reasons why is when healthy offensively, this should be one of the better teams in all of baseball. On the ground, that's what he can do. Aaron Hill is there. 2 outs. It brings in Matt Holliday. Now, he and Cahill were teammates briefly in 2009. Matt was with the Oakland A's and then traded over to St. Louis. And Holliday owns 2 home runs against this right-hander. He was 1 for 4 with an RBI last night.
Matt was telling me one was on a changeup, another was on a sinker that obviously was left up.
How about this in Houston? Yu Darvish perfect through 5 with 10 strikeouts. Second season with the Texas Rangers. As Holliday lifts it out to center. A.J. Pollock is there and puts it away. The Cardinals go quietly here in the top of the first. The season debut for Jaime Garcia when we come back. Hits last night. Parham will lead it off, followed by Prado and Hill. Then Goldschmidt, their cleanup man. Montero. Marte getting his first look of the season. Pollock, Pennington, and the pitcher Cahill. Cardinals defense presented by Dobbs. Same look as last night. Carpenter getting that start at third. Descalso at second. And on the mound for St. Louis, it's the lefty, Jaime Garcia.
I think everyone in Cardinal Nation is really looking to see what we're going to see from Jaime Garcia. He had a very good spring training. You see his numbers from last season. He missed a couple months with his shoulder problems, but it's obvious he came back, pitched very well the second half, and also pitched well in the spring. So let's see if that'll carry over.
We talked about it. Wainwright was hit with a line drive on his right shoulder last night, and at the ballpark today he said he has a bruise there, but nothing more. And clearly, Al, he was not the same pitcher after he was hit by that pitch, as all of a sudden the Diamondbacks were able to get to him.
Mike Matheny was asked about that, And Mike basically said the facts are the facts. He pitched so much better before the line drive. Afterwards, he wasn't as effective. And you worry about you tightening up a little bit, which might have been where he couldn't finish off his pitches.
You saw a lot of those pitches were up in the zone, and that's what you're talking about.
Right. But the one thing we both knew, and we said last night, that there will be no excuses for Madam Wainwright.
Cardinals have an 18-game winner going tomorrow night. That's Lance Lynn. Nasty pitch there from Garcia, and it's a strikeout to start the ball game.
Always get a little confidence there. Garcia, you see set up, look at the breaking ball away. And a little slider right there. I don't care how long you've been pitching. You throw that first pitch, you start settling in. But if you get that first strikeout, you just kind of pump yourself up a little bit. Still must stay within yourself. But you get into that feeling that, okay, it's going to be a fun night.
Martin Prado, 2 for 5 last night. Couple of runs scored and an RBI.
Prado's had quite a few at-bats, but very little success against Jaime.
Last time we saw Jaime Garcia outside of spring was Game 2 of the division series against Washington. It was pulled after 2 innings. And it's gone to 3-0 on Martin Prado, the former Brave. You and I have both always appreciated the skills of Martin Prado.
Good ball player. Plays team baseball, works the counts. Will move runners along, do a lot of little things, and he's gotten a lot of hits in the last few years and a lot of doubles.
Here's a 3-1 pitch. Make it 3-2. Also versatile too with Chipper Jones. When he was missing time, he could play third base. He played a little second and also in the outfield. On the ground, slowly hit to the right side. Descalso there for out number 2. It's hard not to overlook the difference of Jaime Garcia when he is at home and on the road. And that's career numbers, 19 and 10 at home. But look at that, just 2 games above the 500 mark away from Busch Stadium, and the ERA a lot different too, 4.46.
And by having Shelby Miller, the 5th starter, pitch in San Francisco on Saturday, Jaime will get the home opener. Part of that is by design, but there's no rhyme or reason why somebody has those splits. And many times it'll go from year to year, but not with Jaime.
Here's the 0-1 pitch to Aaron Hill. And we will see a Cincinnati club on Monday that will be without Ryan Ludwig for at least the first half of the season, as he separated a shoulder diving into third base yesterday.
Had surgery on that shoulder, and he'll be lucky to really come back at all 100% this season.
Tough break to a good guy.
Yes, one of our favorites. It's not his first injury.
And he's had his share, hasn't he?
Well, he has. Got some hardware in his body to show for it, too.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. It turned out to be one of the great finds at the time for John Mozeliak. He said, let's take a chance on this Ryan Ludwig guy. I think he's pretty good. And sure enough, the Cardinals did take that chance, and then eventually made it to the big leagues again and was an all-star with St. Louis.
That was really when John was the assistant general manager.
Correct.
And he did find Ludwig, and I think we're all better for it. Here these Arizona going deep into counts.
A 3-2 pitch in the dirt and a 2-out walk.
He doesn't look 100% confident. He's such an analytical guy on the mound. He just like to get it and throw, but there's so much going between his ears. Maybe at times overthink situations instead of just letting his muscle memory dictate his repeatable delivery.
Paul Goldschmidt a year ago destroyed left-handed pitching. He hit .343 against lefties.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why in last night's game we didn't see Randy Schote, the true left-handed specialist who would face one left-hander come out of there. They had the luxury that they could potentially pass him with, you know, when I'm sorry, I messed up there. When Sipchinski was on the mound, but I'm thinking the other way.
That's strike two. 2 outs, runner at first. Paul Goldschmidt 1 for 3 with a run scored last night. You just saw his numbers from a year ago.
Signed a 5-year contract, and he is the poster boy. They love him on the field, off the field. Just a good young ball player. He's got his head on straight.
0-2 pitch. Let's see if Jaime can't put him away. Just missed on the inside corner.
Breaking ball or off speed pitch and just inside.
Dan Iasonia calling balls and strikes tonight. This will be at least a 20 pitch first inning for Garcia. It's mixed in a strikeout, a ground out, a walk, and now 1-2 the count on Paul Goldschmidt.
I watched it closely because he just doesn't look like he's gotten into his rhythm yet. A lot of pitches have kind of been up, a lot of deep counts.
One-two pitch again. Ground ball, broken bat, hit to short, and a flip to second. Covering there is Descalso. The flip by Cosma. A scoreless first inning here in the desert. All-inclusive tickets. See a game in style, and you can get yours right now at Cardinals.com. Spoke to our buddy Joe Strom, the vice president of ticket sales for the Cardinals, and while most believe that opening day is sold out, there are tickets that are returned for opening day by Major League Baseball, the players, the opposing team. So continue to check in at Cardinals.com, and some of those tickets have been coming back and are available to the general public. Here's Alan Craig. He was hitless last night. Cardinals went 1-2-3 in the first inning. And Craig taps it foul. No balls and 2 strikes. Seeing a slimmed down version of Trevor Cahill. He's lost 35 pounds. And he won the mile for time run. All the players have to run a mile when they report to camp, and they put a clock on it. And Kirk Gibson said, I'm going with Trevor Cahill. And no one within the organization knew that he had lost this much weight. Came in very good shape, and Kirk Gibson won that bet because Cahill had the best time of anybody. 1-2 pitch.
Well, Dan, how come you didn't win any races then?
Well, I'm just not in that kind of shape. He's looking pretty good.
But just because you lose 30 pounds doesn't mean you can be a mile sprinter.
Lance Lynn has dropped weight. We saw Matt Adams. He's in much better shape this year. And here is Cahill.
And I think it's obvious with Yadier Molina.
He's in really good shape. Players now more than ever, Al, realize that there's a window to get the money while the getting's good. And you might as well put yourself in the best shape possible to make the most money you can and have a prolonged career. And that's what Lance Lynn was talking about, being more efficient. The fly ball into shallow center, put away by A.J. Pollock, and we'll see Lynn tomorrow, the 18-game winner from a season ago.
We'll talk a little bit more about it, but you know, once you lose that weight, his body was so much freer. You know, in his delivery, it kind of messed him up in spring training. He had to go through almost the entire spring to relearn his mechanics with his new flexibility.
Here is the switch hitting Beltran. Could have made a case. There were 3 balls that were hit in the air in right field last night that Beltran, if healthy, probably gets to, or at least been a little closer to. And I'm sure that's been talked about ad nauseum back home in St. Louis, as everything is critiqued, and rightfully so, by the fan base. They watch every inning, it seems like, every game, every pitch. And who knows? A couple of those balls are caught. Maybe a different night for Wainwright and the Cardinals.
Wainwright did not have a lot of help in his outfield. But Wainwright, as right now they're seeing with 2 strikes, I just saw the center fielder shift and go into left center. And when I was talking with some of the coaching staff about defensive alignment, they were talking about the one ball that ended up in right center. With 2 strikes to Kubel, they moved the center fielder, John Jay, towards left field, and they had Beltran move a step from straight away towards the corner. So that left a big gap there.
Second strikeout for Trevor Cahill. Catches Beltran looking. He's hitless to start the year. And here's Molina. He was 1 for 3 last night with a double. Yes. Coming off one of his best, if not the best, offensive season that he's had a year ago.
Well, there's no doubt it was his best season, but I don't think it's his top season he'll have. I think that he still has a higher ceiling to get to. But, you know, you play your defense one way, asking your pitchers to pitch to that defense, and if they don't execute location, sometimes you get beat.
One of the heroes from the World Championship team of the Arizona Diamondbacks, their lone championship, Luis Gonzalez, the team of 2001, and he had the winning hit off of Mariano Rivera.
He's an advisor to the general manager. That's Derek Hall, the president of the Diamondbacks, he's talking to in front of him.
Overall, that staff ERA for the series during the 7 games, 1.94. That World Series run, Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling were the co-MVPs. Gonzalez, the walk-off Game 7 winning hit. Here's a 2-2. Little chopper up the middle and a base hit for Molina. First Cardinal hit tonight. Luis Gonzalez, his number 20, is retired as we flash back, and here it is.
It's a jam shot. He's going to look back. Any other time in his career, he would have hated to see that video replay. But at the moment, it was what made them world champions.
The big unit is now considered a professional photographer. Majored in photography at USC. He's taken up that passion again. Can you imagine that? 6'10" and sitting on the sidelines, and that's Randy Johnson.
I have a nephew out here that does TV camera work, and he showed me a picture of he with Randy Johnson, and it was that same fact. He said, Randy, come on, take a picture with me. He said he has some unbelievable cameras, and I said, no doubt.
Surprised he didn't push a cameraman. Never got off to a rough start for Randy when he arrived in the Big Apple.
Yeah.
Here's Descalso, who was 1 for 3 last night. Short lead at first by Molina. Cardinals back in 2001 had such a good team. Tony Womack broke our hearts.
Steve Klein.
The 2-1-2 Descalso. Stepping on the bag, Goldschmidt. And the Cardinals are through here in the top of the second as they strand a runner. Inning and a half in the books, and there's no score. UMB Champions Club, Bank of America Club, also the Legends Club, and also our Toyota Keys to the Game, Jaime Garcia, and what he has done in the month of April. Very good numbers, 7-2, ERA just over 2. How about that, Al? Only 1 home run allowed in the month of April for the lefty.
He's come out throwing the ball extremely well. First inning, he was a little shaky, a lot of pitches thrown. Like to see the ball get down a little bit, as this ballpark is very explosive. 15 hits yesterday and no home runs for the Diamondbacks.
Miguel Montero with a high fly ball out to deep left. Spoke too soon. Home run Montero, 1-0 Diamondbacks.
High scoring Toyota Keys to the Game. But that's what I was a little bit worried about, getting the ball up, and it gets here in this rarefied air, and the ball travels well. They wanted to pitch him away, but not up there. He is a very good all-around catcher, and he just gave them the lead.
Alfredo Marte. Talk so much about the Cardinals and the injuries that they're dealing with here in the first couple of weeks of the season. Well, the same for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So Alfredo Marte getting a chance to play with the injuries that they have. Adam Eaton most notable when you think about their outfielders. He is a guy that they expected to be their leadoff man and in center field.
I think Parr did a pretty good job as their leadoff man last night. But Cody Ross, who they signed to a 3-year contract as a free agent, is on the disabled list. He'll be back quicker than Eaton.
There's Parra, who's won a Gold Glove, plays all 3 outfield positions.
And had 4 hits last night, including 3 doubles. He was considered their 5th outfielder.
A 2-2 from Jaime Garcia. Little floater into center, and John Jay is there. Very spacious ballpark. It's 407 to dead center field, 413 left center and right center. And when you have a guy like Carlos Beltran, who clearly isn't running like we've seen him, dealing with the fractured toe, a lot of pressure on John Jay to cover that ground out there in center. A.J. Pollock, he was 3 for 4 with a pair of RBIs. Nothing in 2.
That's a big ballpark here. He was very happy the way Wainwright pitched the first few innings.
And the thing about Beltran is that you think about defensively and not moving as well, but we know he's so streaky that when he's right offensively, he could carry you through a series, through a week, through a month. And he was one of the best hitters in all of baseball beginning the season of 2012 and really leading into that All-Star break.
And he's just such a good leader. You know, a lot by example, but young players can ask him a lot of questions, and he's been through it all.
2-2 lifted in the air to Beltran in right down the line, and did he make the catch? He holds on. He did. Very good play by Beltran in foul territory.
Well, there he had to show his range as he ranged from straight away into foul territory, deals with the wall, and holds on to the ball. Nice play.
Seemed to be moving better too, didn't he?
It did. He told me yesterday the toe's not an issue, but Adam Wainwright also said he didn't get hit.
Here's Cliff Pennington, and he looks at a strike. Name that we have not mentioned out for Arizona, Willie Bloomquist. That's another one.
Yes.
So Pennington a chance to play. The injuries that the Diamondbacks have suffered here in spring training and now in the early portion of this regular season.
They got a young shortstop from Cincinnati, and he's only 23 years of age. He'll probably be the shortstop of the future, but Bloomquist, like you said, very, very good, whether he's a utility player. Pennington came from Oakland, but last night watching him, he's going to have a real challenge hitting the ball. He's a switch hitter.
One-two pitch. Got him. A strikeout of Cliff Pennington in the second this evening for Jaime Garcia. The Diamondbacks strike first. A home run by Montero. 1-0 after 2. Miguel Montero, 1-0 lead after 2 innings of play. We're at Chase Field in Arizona. Al Hrabosky, Dan McLaughlin with you, and we check in for the first time tonight with Jim Hayes. And Jim, what's the situation right now with David Freese?
Well, Dan, as you know, the Cardinals had hoped to have David Freese back for their home opener, but Mike Matheny said today he wouldn't give Freese the green light until David proved that his back was ready to handle the rigors of playing a lot of innings at third base. Freese, of course, working out at the team's complex in Jupiter. I spoke with him via text today, and he said the back feels great, and he's just going about trying to prove to the Cardinals that he is ready to go.
So, Jim, the idea then would be that we'd see him opening day in St. Louis on Monday.
Well, that's what the Cardinals are hoping, but the way Mike Matheny was talking today, they weren't quite so sure. They want to see David do some things, maybe playing a game to prove that he is ready to go.
All right, Jim, thanks. Here is Pete Kozma, Cardinals shortstop. He looks at a ball, 1 strike. By the way, Jim is a proud papa today because, and I know he is every day, but young Tyler turns 4 today. And I think he's still up and watching the game. So, Tyler Hayes, happy birthday. And I know your dad's proud of you, and we'll see you soon next week. Tyler Hayes, happy birthday as he turns 4.
Knowing about Jim Hayes Enterprises, he's probably got him out there and working for a living.
At the age of 4.
At the age of 4.
Can't start too young, Al.
Nope. Good work ethic. His dad's got some. I know
he
that.
Does.
Mike also was very cautious. He didn't really want to say that, that Freese will be there on opening day. They just are very cautious. They just don't want anybody to think there's a setback or a problem if he's not there.
Slowly hit to the left side. Cahill, tough play. And not in time. We know that Kozma can run. He beats it out for a base hit. And the second Cardinal hit tonight.
Now, as a pitcher, and a competitor, you want to bounce off the mound. You want to make this play. But there's more likelihood you're going to hurt yourself trying to make that off-balance throw, whether it's this hurt your arm or trip and fall. Sometimes it's just better off just to kind of right yourself, stop, don't do something so unusual like that, because that's when a lot of injuries happen.
Third baseman is Prado. He's playing in on the grass. They'll hold it first. And here is Garcia. He squares, and that's strike 1.
Jaime asked to bunt here, and I think he may be a better hitter than Bunter. How close is it at first base? Plaza Tire Centers or Service will tell you it's not very close at all. Got more of a chance you're going to throw the ball away when you do that too.
Here's the 0-1 pitch, and that is strike 2. Now, both these catchers, Al, we talked about it last night, are so good at being able to control a running game, or even in a situation like this, if you don't push it out, in Garcia's case, far enough away from the catcher, he could get even a speedy Kozma, because this guy can throw the baseball. He threw out 42% of base stealers a year ago.
Third best behind Yachty, number 1. But still, he is. And you got a good combination. You got a sinker baller on the mound, too. Very poor attempt right there to Garcia help himself.
So first time through the lineup and 3 strikeouts.
The best thing about that is
Trevor Cahill.
He didn't hit into a double play. But look at the form. Look at there's so much movement. And you saw at the very end, he had the barrel lower than the handle. When you do that, you're going to pop it up a little bit.
John Jay, top of the lineup. He struck out to start the game. Jay did have a base hit last night. Slaps it the other way. And that's foul near the bullpen of the Arizona Diamondbacks. We noticed in batting practice today, ball was just flying out of here. The panels are open beyond the wall and left and right. The roof is open. Very pleasant night for baseball. And when it's open, the ball jumps. Here's the 0-1 pitch to John Jay. Now time called.
It's funny, Dan, because they always say when they open up the dome, the panels, and people get in the stands, it heats up and the ball flies. You'd think it would do even more if it was closed.
This is a team, the Diamondbacks, a year ago really relied on guys that could knock it out of the ballpark, like in Upton. Stephen Drew had some pop, but they've gone with more defense and speed with the players that they have acquired. And speaking of speed, let's see if the Cardinals want to do a little running here with Pete Kozma. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cahill thinking the same thing.
The running game has really gone away. The game slowed down with manager's strategy and trying to control the running game. You know, Dan, last night's game was exactly what Kirk Gibson wants from his club. You know, many times they fought back from 0-2 counts and really made Wainwright work. They had 15 hits in the game, no home runs. Scored all the runs they did. And the Cardinals want to play that same style to keep away from, all the problems they had in having a great offense that was second most runs scored in the National League, but many times was shut out or held to a couple runs and couldn't win those games. So they want those kind of same at bats. Want to create scoring opportunities.
So second most in runs in the National League, but they did that in stretches. 44 games they scored 2 or fewer runs. They went 5-39 in those contests a year ago. A strikeout, and it's a double play. Montero picks off Kozma down at first. Jay strikes out. Second time he has done so tonight. Kozma gunned down by Montero. Diamondbacks on top. Errors continue early on. Saw last night. We see it here with Pete Kozma.
Well, it also looked like Molina right there. Kozma argues because he got stuck in the mud and he might have missed the tag. Well, he still got him, but when you're caught that far off, just walk off. Boy, that's 3 base running mistakes. What an ugly offensive inning that was. Danny, you were in spring training a lot longer than I was, but you know how hard Mike Matheny and his staff worked on simple fundamentals.
A ton.
A ton. And people are going to come out and say, well, look, they didn't work on this. We can verify they worked on it daily. everything that you've seen go wrong was repeated over and over and over in spring training.
It was a point of emphasis even with the longer spring training this year because of the World Baseball Classic. Talked to Mike about that, and he said we want to get fundamentally better from a year ago.
And they will be. I don't think there's any doubt.
There's a fly ball into deep right center field. Jay was playing in and makes the catch on the run. Cahill gave it a ride. MLB.com at bat is the #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At Bat delivers Cardinals baseball. You'll have live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit Cardinals.com for details. It brings in Parra, leadoff man. They may want to think about keeping him in this spot. There's already been some talk about that with the injury to Adam Eaton, who had 44 stolen bases, high level of the minor leagues a year ago. As Parra grounds it to Alan Craig, he'll step on the bag. 2 away.
All we heard before the game yesterday was about Adam Eaton. And then Parra goes out there and says, well, I'll show you.
Remember the former Cub Tony Campana?
Yes.
He is a guy that was vying for playing time to come out of spring and make this club very close.
You know what happened to him? Don Baylor was telling me that, and he was talking a little bit about Adam Eaton. You know, that real pesky guy diving into bags. Hurt his hand diving into a bag, cost him 2.5 weeks of spring training and a job at the big league level.
Tremendous speed. We saw that with the Chicago Cubs last season. So you get a look at Martin Prado. He grounded out to second base. First time up, he's 0 for 1. And a grounder to third. Playing near the line was Carpenter. And he makes the play. A 1-2-3 inning for Jaime Garcia. Cardinals coming up. The top of the fourth. The big bats. Carpenter, Holiday, Craig. From Miguel Montero with a 1-run lead. Tony La Russa is in the house tonight. In the middle there, that is Jerry Krause, special assistant to the general manager. Those two, La Russa and Krause, know each other from their days in Chicago, and pretty ironic, isn't it? 1996, 2012, first years for both La Russa and Matheny, identical records. And when you think about the league championship series, both teams were up 3-1 in those series. Tony La Russa back in 1996. That was against the Atlanta Braves, and they came back and thumped the Cardinals. And then we saw what happened a year ago with San Francisco up 3-1.
There's one guy missing in there that I'm sure Tony La Russa went to that booth to see, and that would be Roland Heeman. And I think Roland Heeman is in his 90s now, but still active, working for the Diamondbacks. Roland was a long time with the White Sox. So was Krause. I first met Jerry Krause in the early 70s in the Dominican.
He restructured, you might remember, Al, Chicago's scouting in the Dominican and also in Venezuela.
And then he went on to be the general manager of the Bulls. So he's gotten a lot of money from Jerry Reinsdorf.
Began his career as an NBA scout with the Bulls, the Suns. You might remember the Baltimore Bullets.
I don't.
He was with them. The 2-2. Unique talent of scouting both baseball and basketball. Jerry Krause did that for 12 years. He was part of those great Bulls teams in Chicago. As Carpenter rips it down the right field line into the corner, that will go. Carpenter on his way to second, and he will stop there. Leadoff double for Matt Carpenter.
Well, the Cardinals saw last year that Carpenter has a potent bat, driving the ball now. He gets the ball down and in, and well struck into the corner for an extra base hit. And let's see at the right time now with the RBI guys coming up behind him.
Holiday is 0 for 1. He flied out to center field first time up. For the Cardinals, that's their third base hit this evening.
Holiday up. You look at that outfield defense, you say they're too shallow.
Ground ball to the right side. Productive out. Carpenter advancing to third on the ground out by Holiday. Gerardo Parra, I mentioned it earlier, he is a former Gold Glover, and he has a cannon in right field. This is our Hyundai replay, and this ballpark, Al, you talk to our outfielders, they'll tell you it's very tough. A lot of nooks and crannies out there and different angles, and he played this perfectly.
Well, you can see he knew instead of trying to go in, aggressively come in, try to play it off the sidewall, he waited for it to carry him around and come to him in the corner. I think Parra was a Gold Glove recipient in left field.
Correct. Here's Alan Craig.
But how about your number 3 hitter, Matt Holiday? Gave himself up there. You could see. I'm not all the time you want your number 3 hitter to do that, but he had the design that he was going to hit that ball to the right side and get Carpenter over to third. Now Kindo's going through all scenarios, different ways you can score from third.
1-0 pitch. Craig chops it towards short. That'll score the run. And this game is tied. Alan Craig with the RBI, and it's 1-1. It's good baseball right there.
Well, that is one of the things that Mike Matheny stressed. Here, even though you have the heart of the order, the RBI men, you know, you get Holiday that kind of played small ball and moved him over to third. And then Alan Craig, who just has that knack for driving in runs, he just makes contact, and it goes for an infield out, but he drove in the tying run.
First RBI for Alan Craig. Here's Beltran, who was called out on strikes, back in the second. December 10th of 2011 was the big trade that brought Trevor Cahill from Oakland here to Arizona. Jared Parker, at the time a huge prospect, was in that deal. Colin Cahill, who is now with the Mets, And also Ryan Cook. A little history on Cahill. He was the second-round pick in 2006 for the A's.
He was an 18-game winner one year.
All-Star in 2010.
Remember I told you yesterday, Kevin Towers, general manager here, says, I'd like to trade for American League pitchers. And one of the reasons why in the American League with the DH, they're not looking over their shoulder, trying to figure out, well, they're going to pinch hit for me here, or I've done my 6 innings. They just go out and pitch. Some people are concerned about the Cardinals because they don't have a 200-inning pitcher from last year. Now, Wainwright just missed by less than 2 innings, but I think it's not going to be a problem.
2-out walk issued to Beltran. Opening day at Busch Stadium is Monday, and Fox Sports Midwest has your ticket to the festivities. We'll bring you an extended pregame show. Opening day ceremonies from Busch Stadium. Cardinals home opener coverage starts at 1:30 Monday afternoon on your home of the Cardinals, Fox Sports Midwest. Yesterday was nice. This is not meant to be disrespectful to Arizona or watching on television some of the other opening days around baseball, but there is something special about opening day in St. Louis. Bucket list.
Really is. And I know on Friday we're going to get the Giants home opener. In 2010 we saw them, or excuse me, in 2011 we saw them receive the World Series rings.
That ball gets away, and Beltran moves up to second. So RBI opportunity with 2 down for Yadier Molina.
Ball bounces so far out in front of him, he just tried to stab it, and then he wasn't sure where it went.
Molina with a runner at second base. That's Beltran. Ground ball slowly hit to the left side. Prado on the run, and he gets Molina by a step. A double by Carpenter. And then right after that, the productive out. Holiday, the ground ball to the right side to advance Carpenter. Craig brings him in. New game, tied up at 1. To you by Schnucks, your neighborhood hometown grocer. Steel, available exclusively at a servicing steel dealer. Visit steeldealers.com. Back in the Valley of the Sun as the Cardinals have tied it up. Ground out by Holiday. Craig, the RBI. And the Cardinals have tied it up at 1-1. Maybe some history tonight. Major League Baseball, just the second night of the regular season. Yu Darvish with a ball game that may go down in history. He has a perfect game right now with 1 out in the 8th against Houston. We'll keep an eye on that.
2 outs now in the 8th.
It's Aaron Hill, Paul Goldschmidt, Miguel Montero for Arizona. Now think about Ron Washington. We talked about it last night. You have your starters. They haven't really been stretched out in spring training. And it's similar to an extent to what Terry Collins faced last year with Johan Santana. I mean, obviously you're not going to pull him out, but you know, it's one of those things where you start looking at pitch counts and how deep a guy is going, and then you say, what's the after effect of leaving him in? And let's say he makes history, but what happens in that next start and beyond? Middle of the season, don't worry about it. First start, a little different.
A little different. I think you're more, you know, you're not as concerned, particularly with a Japanese pitcher that's healthy, who throw, you know, constantly. Remember, they used to, in Japan, they would pitch a game, they get taken out, they go to the bullpen and throw some more, even when they were, you know, they're taken out for a bad outing, and they'd go punish them by pitching in the bullpen for 3 or 4 more innings.
2-2 pitch. Here's a 3-2, and that's pulled foul. Quite the coaching staff they have assembled here in Arizona, as the ball boy slipped hitting that foul ball down the left field line. Matt Williams, Steve Sachs, Don Baylor, Alan Trammell, Kirk Gibson, Charles Nagy. Here's a ground ball left side, cut off by Carpenter, spins, throws, nice play. Matt Carpenter down there at third, ranging to his left.
Well, everybody talked about Carpenter playing second base, but he's at his natural position right now, third, and so it made perfect sense with Freese going out that you let Carpenter play. Third baseman has anything and everything he can get to his left. Kozma was there to back him up, but that's a very nice play by the third baseman Carpenter, and if we would have had the shortstop played, he probably runner would have beat it out.
I agree. Here's Goldschmidt, grounded into a fielder's choice, first time up, looks at strike one. Big Cardinal fan Clint Perigay. We know he is watching tonight, and you can read all about Clint at FoxSportsMidwest.com. Really neat story on a huge Cardinal fan, and I know he's tuned in tonight. We're pulling for him. And Al, if you get the chance, you should read it. It's on FoxSportsMidwest.com. We have our new writer, Ben Fredrickson. You can follow him on Twitter at Ben_Fred. And Clint's a neat story and a huge Cardinal fan.
Great. There are so many of them. We forget about so many of our loyal listeners, watchers that are in hospitals and nursing homes and retirement centers, that just, this is such a big part of their day.
One out, nothing in two, the count on Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt is 25 years of age, from Wilmington, Delaware. 8th round selection in 2009. Originally selected out of high school by the Dodgers. 49th round. That just missed. He's now in his 5th season with the Diamondbacks, and he has quite the resume. Organizational Player of the Year in 2010. He was the Minor League Player of the Year in 2011. MVP twice in the Southern League as well as the California League, and this time he strikes out. History. We may be seeing it tonight. Let's check in with Pat Perez. Pat. All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Thank you, Pat. Pat will be with Jim Edmonds and Ricky Horton following our contest tonight on the post-game show. Here's Miguel Montero. And he takes a ball. Montero with an opposite field home run. First time up.
Bob Feller threw a no-hitter on opening day, but it had to have been later on in April.
That's ripped into right center field for a base hit. A 2-out hit for Montero. Think about Randy Johnson and Edwin Jackson. They've had their history against the for the Diamondbacks, and against the Diamondbacks, number Jose Jimenez, the St. Louis Cardinals. He was matched up with Randy Johnson, nearly threw the no-hitter. And the amazing thing about Jimenez was the no-hitter, and then I believe it was a one-hitter against Randy Johnson the next time out.
Randy had something like 3 consecutive games where he gave up almost, total of 10 hits and lost all 3 of them.
Never forget that night in St. Louis. Randy Johnson pitching for the Giants, and his final year trying to go for 300 wins, and he left the game leading at that time, and the fans in St. Louis, no surprise to us, standing ovation, understanding that was probably the final time they would see Randy Johnson. One ball, 1 strike, 2 outs and a runner at first. Fredo Marte at the plate.
Just really going out there pitching. Changing speeds, working both sides of the plate, up and down. Only giving up 2 hits, and both of them to Montero.
One ball and 2 strikes. Marte with some pretty good numbers in the minor leagues, but again, they're pushing him a little bit now because of the injuries that they've had. Flied out back in the 2nd inning, and with the lefty on the mound, Kirk Gibson electing to give Marte, hitting from this side of the plate, a chance to play, and then Jason Kubel had a big night in Game 1, sits. So their bench is loaded from the left side with Chavez, Kubel, and Hinsky tonight.
Cody Ross is due to go out on a rehab assignment very shortly. I think maybe once we leave town. So Marte getting a chance to show what he can do.
The 2-2. Most people that follow the game believe that the Dodgers are the team to beat in the West, with San Francisco right there with them, especially if their pitching lines up. And why not? Giants have won 2 of the last 3 championships. Arizona was basically a 500 team the entire season a year ago. Swing and a miss, a strikeout, number 4 for Jaime Garcia. The inning started with a very good play by Matt Carpenter, ranging to his left, getting the start at third tonight. It's Descalso, Cosma, Garcia due up. you can go to hashtag FSM and then either Taveras, Walker, or Wong, who will debut first. I think that's a tremendous question.
It really is.
Any one of those three could be seen this year. Just a matter, I guess, Al, at this point, injuries. That would probably be number one. And then who you think is ready?
All three of them will make their major league debut this year. And we hope all three of them make it in September.
Because that means things are probably going pretty well.
Going very well here, and we aren't having the injuries you talked about. But they're all going to be here shortly. And most people will say they'll be here for a long time.
In my mind, the most impressive guy in camp, and as you mentioned, I was in spring training for basically the entire time. Michael Wacha. I mean, you walked away watching that guy saying, my goodness, this is the next Adam Wainwright. Kind of looks like him, same type and build. He's got a fastball that is around 96, 97. His best pitch, arguably, is his changeup, and a pretty good curveball, too. And Adam took him under his wing, and they say the best thing about Wacha, didn't say a word. Just listened and watched, and that's a nasty pitch, tailing back in, and the strikeout of Descalso.
Well, Matt Gifford, our good friend, general manager down in Springfield, Missouri for the Cardinals, AA affiliate. There you see that ball just drop, velocity, almost change up, everything, a lot of movement. But he said last year when Wacha came to the AA playoffs that he was a man among boys. Only had 21 professional innings. But everybody's raving about him, and everybody says he's ready right now. But it's for his best for him to pitch at AAA.
He is in that starting rotation for Memphis. Swing and a miss by Pete Kozma.
And then Wong and Taveras, neither one of them have had a AAA at bat. So it will be for their benefit to get as much seasoning as they can, but they will be here at some time.
Kozma, the 7th different opening day shortstop in the past 7 years. The list is for Cal, Terrio, Brendan Ryan, now with Seattle, Khalil Green, Cesar Turris, and David Eckstein.
Kozma has one of the 3 Cardinal hits.
The 2-2.
And if Tony will follow us to San Francisco.
Wouldn't be surprising, would it?
Wouldn't be, but.
Strikeout of Kozma. Caught looking. Strikeout number 6 for Cahill. The Krispy Kreme doesn't deal. Cardinals get 9 hits this evening. You're invited into Krispy Kreme tomorrow. Receive a dozen of their original glazed donuts for only $3.99. Stop by one of the 4 St. Louis area Krispy Kremes for this sensational deal. Pitchers duel tonight. Here's Jaime Garcia.
So last time up, Jaime was in a sacrifice situation. Said he's a better hitter than he is bunter.
He can swing the bat a little bit. Did not look comfortable. He struck out back in the 3rd trying to sacrifice.
But that is something he needs to get better at. He can help himself win a few extra games by his ability to advance runners sacrificing.
Here's a 1-1. Ground ball left side. Diving stop by Prado. And Garcia is out at first. Martin Prado showing off the leather down at 3rd and takes a hit away from Jaime Garcia. Diamondbacks coming up the bottom of their lineup. Pollock, Pennington, and Cahill. Martin Prado. Mr. Versatility for the Diamondbacks. Tied up at 1. send us your email the booth questions. Carsoup.com. 1-1 game as we move to the home half of the fifth. Yu Darvish, by the way, is 1 out away from a perfect game in Houston. Right-hander for the Texas Rangers. I wonder, Al, if this will be the only time we see that happen against Houston this year. Not exactly the 27 Yankees.
Well, they were opening day against Texas. So they surprised the Rangers with a big win, a lot of offensive support. And he just gave it up. The base hit, I assume.
Underway here in the home half of the fifth. It's A.J. Pollock. Flight out to right, first time up. Two balls and no strikes. For the most part, Al, we have seen that Garcia has been working ahead in the count, has been very efficient tonight, very sharp. There's a ground ball, couple of hops, hit to Cosmo. And there's one away. Well, was history made tonight? Let's get an update. Pat Paris, what happened?
Shortstop, Paddington.
And he wanted to get a complete game.
There's a grounder, backhanded by Matt Carpenter. The high throw and off the glove of Craig. Advancing is Pennington on his way to second. An error charged to Matt Carpenter, and the go-ahead run now in scoring position.
Looks like he's going to make a nice play. Air mails it, and then Craig really complicated it by not vacating the bag. Sometimes you just got to concede the single, but in trying to stretch out, hold his foot on the bag, he misses the ball and allows the runner to get to second base.
One out and a runner at second. Little tapper, Garcia. Ooh, he could have gone to third, and he didn't. He will get the sure out in Trevor Cahill. There was hesitation there by Pennington, and they would have had him. We almost saw perfection. Remember, a couple of years ago, we flash back Jim Joyce, Armando Galarraga, who spent some time here in Arizona. The tie into this ball game. Cabrera, Galarraga, perfect game. No. Jim Joyce later admitted he blew the call. See Jake Westbrook wearing the Indians uniform in the background of that night. And to his credit, Jim Joyce was behind the plate the next day. Lineup card was brought out by Galarraga, and Jim Joyce in tears, who is considered, by the way, arguably the best umpire in baseball.
Umpires are fans too, Dan, and I just can't understand how his mindset couldn't be thinking that no matter what, it's going to be an out. He would go the tendency to go the other way rather than, to blow a call.
Here is Parra. He is 0 for 2. There's a nasty curveball from Garcia. Looks very good tonight. 0-2 on Gerardo Parra, who has struck out and also grounded out.
Well, he has such good stuff. There's really not a lot of variance between his fastball and his changeup tonight, but he's using all of them, changing speeds, keeping the ball out of the middle of the plate, and after the first inning, he's been keeping the ball, down quite a bit.
What does he come back with now on no balls and 2 strikes? Little tapper up the first base line and foul.
Slider there that Parra tried to pull.
Marwin Gonzalez breaks up Darvish's bid for perfection in the ninth.
It's kind of interesting because the national audience that right at the end there got to listen to Steve Busby, one of the Texas Rangers broadcasters that has 2 no-hitters.
Garcia stepping off the mound, and heading down the line was Pennington.
But that was good that he stepped off. Sometimes a guy will panic, and you'll balk in that situation. Curveball.
The 0-2 by Garcia. And did he get him? No. Thought he may have had him on a called third strike. Garcia is questioning the home plate umpire as well.
The Diamondbacks and Parra in particular last night did a very good job. Many times Wainwright got ahead 0-2, but they kind of fought back and then able to get a base hit off him. Back to a slider, didn't want that, back to the curveball.
Huge gap in right center field. The 1-2. Ground ball to the right side. Handled by Descalso. And the Diamondbacks strand a runner at third. We played 5 here in the desert. Good ball game, tied up at 1. Carpenter. They'll take on John Jay and Daniel Descalso. Another round of backyard, ball yard Olympics. Find out what that's all about. Toyota Cardinals live tomorrow at 8, followed by the play-by-play at 8:30 only on Fox Sports Midwest. 42 saves a season ago for Jason Mott to lead the National League, lead the Cardinals, and that's Yadi's brother, the secondary hitting coach now for the St. Louis Cardinals. Benji Molina.
I was kidding Benji today. I said, we haven't won a game since you've been in uniform.
C.J. Cherry there, longtime front office man of the St. Louis Cardinals. You saw there behind Molina. 2 balls and no strikes on John Jay. It's Jay, Carpenter, and Holiday. The 2-1. And Jay is hit by the pitch. Seeing a little bit of everything tonight as far as what you expect in a good ball game. You got good pitching, but also good defense. We've seen that, Al, on both sides.
And they kind of go hand in hand in ball games. Pitchers need a little help from the defense. Both pitchers are receiving that. Mike Matheny has to like what he's seen from Garcia, and I'm sure he would tell you it's what he expects.
Number 2 spot in the lineup. will Carpenter lay down a bunt here, or do you let him swing away? He has 2 hits the first 2 games of this series, a double and a run scored back in the 4th.
One way as a pitcher you can kind of see if you can read the hitter is by stepping off or throw over to first base, see what the hitter reacts if he gives away the bunt sign.
Third baseman is in, and Carpenter looks at a strike.
Carpenter is dangerous because he can hit to all fields. They're actually expecting him to hit the ball to the left side of the infield and outfield. But with the first base holding on, a left-handed hitter, if he can pull the ball, get it by the first baseman, then you could have a little fun.
Holiday is on deck. Jay is at first, and the 0-1 pitch to Carpenter instead of Check. Again, what you're talking about, to see if maybe Matt Carpenter would show bunt there. Talk so much, Al, about what Carpenter may do with 400 to 500 at bats. You also have a situation where your leadoff man the last year and a couple of months, and for Cahill, is done for the year. So you got John Jay in that leadoff spot. Will he be running more this year, trying to set the table, be that true leadoff man?
You know, I know he tried in spring training, but he had poor success. Running speed is just part of being a good base stealer.
High pop up, shallow left center, and there's one away. In steps Holiday.
Cahill made sure that Carpenter couldn't do his job and to get the man into scoring position.
Cardinals have seen this right-hander before. 2.25 ERA in 2 starts, but not a win because he only had 2 runs of support in those previous games.
But he's accustomed to pitching in very tight run games.
Last year he was 13-12, 3.78 ERA. As Al told you earlier in the broadcast, he struck out 11 in his final tune-up. That was Texas in spring training. At 25 strikeouts over 5 starts. 19 1/3 spread over that time. His work here in Arizona during spring training. One out and a runner at first. Holiday is 0 for 2. You've seen that pitch out a couple times where it just explodes back in on the right-handers.
It looks like a changeup, you know, and last night Kennedy had a very good changeup that was effective. But look at how you're going by the motion. You're looking at his motion. Look like he's really pushing. You're going to throw a hard pitch, and then the ball just dies.
The 1-1.
Going to come in with a good sinker.
Ball and 2 strikes on Holiday. And another check by Cahill over at first.
Remember, Holiday's hit 2 home runs off him.
Just got a piece to stay alive.
He's hitting that right off the shoe tops. He does have a good sinker. I've always considered Matt to be a low ball hitter. And so many times we know he's got that power, but more he just powers the ball through the infield. He hits it so hard.
Outfield is deep, and Holiday takes a ball in the dirt. Blocked by Montero. Big gap in left center field. They shade him a bit the opposite way, and Holliday goes down to get it out to deep left. Oh, it's gone! He went down to get it, and a line shot and a home run for Holliday. A 2-run homer, and the Cardinals have grabbed the lead. How did that get out of here?
Well, do you believe that he's a low ball hitter? And then do you also believe that he hits the ball harder than any Cardinal? And he showed it right there with that ball off the shoe tops. Just a stinging line drive that just took off. Never got more than, 15 feet in the air and out of here for the Cardinals' 3-1 lead.
So Holliday's first of the season comes at the right time. A 2-run lead for St. Louis as he gulps it out of here with a line shot.
I'd love to see that replay when we have a chance.
And now it's Alan Craig, the cleanup man.
Watch where this ball is. A little higher than I thought, but boy, did he give that a ride.
It got out in a hurry, too.
Just a laser.
Holliday over 100 RBIs a year ago.
I was thinking he had the bad April and then you had an MVP type season the rest of the way.
No doubt.
Been an all-star all 3 years, full years in St. Louis.
A strikeout of Craig. Was accounted for the other RBI tonight with his ground out back in the 4th. And it brings in Carlos Beltran. Strikeout number 7 for Trevor Cahill.
Last year, the Cardinals rarely struck out in double figures. They had 10 strikeouts last night, and as you said, 7 already here.
Beltran called out on strikes back in the 2nd inning. And he walked in the 4th. That's the only walk issued by this right-hander.
He did hit John Jay to start this inning and came home on the 2-run home run by Holliday.
That's smoked into center for a base hit. So Beltran on base for the 2nd time tonight to go along with a walk and now a single. Here's Molina, who has singled up the middle and also grounded out to 3rd.
Nagy, the pitching coach, coming out the slow walk. Go on and talk to Cahill.
And a left-hander, Tony Sipp. They have 2 lefties in their pen. Reminder, this weekend it's Fox Saturday Baseball. Cardinals taking on the Giants, a rematch of the NLCS. Debut of Fox Saturday Baseball. And that'll be this weekend, the Cards and Giants. One of the great atmospheres and settings in all of sports. Ballpark. And the home field advantage that they enjoy in San Francisco. And you know, Al, it's going to be electric this weekend as they celebrate that championship from a year ago.
No doubt about it. As I said, we don't mind if the pattern continues. Cardinals were there opening day in 2011. We saw them get the World Series rings. Then the Cardinals won the World Series that year. Cardinals 11th. We'll be back to see them get their World Series rings, and maybe we can duplicate it too.
What might have been comebacker to Lance Lynn, and that was thrown into center field. Hunter Pence was at the plate. Zito on the mound. Cardinals up 3-1, and after that moment, it just seemed like everything unraveled. The Cardinals never were the same.
Well, the Cardinals, the last 3 games, they were outscored 20-1. And I think that's left such a sour taste in the Cardinals' minds. If they just using it for motivation, that they want to get back to postseason and they want to atone for last year. not picking up that final win and going to the World Series again.
Could this be it for Trevor Cahill if he walks Molina with the lefty on deck?
I think it is.
And Yachty swinging away on 3-0.
Why get him up if you aren't going to use him?
Right side of the bullpen, they love it. David Hernandez, we saw him last night. Heath Bell, J.J. Putz. The 3-1 pitch outside, and that's a walk to Molina. That'll put Beltran in scoring position. Yachty will take first, and we'll take a look at Kirk Gibson to see if he'll pull the trigger here.
Well, he wants the catcher to go out and talk to him, give the Sip a little more time in the bullpen.
The second walk issued by Trevor Cahill. Looks like they may be staying with him here.
Might be, but now it looks like Gibson's going to go to the pen. Stalling tactics, giving the bullpen enough time.
So Descalso will be the hitter. And that'll be it for Trevor Cahill. Knocked out of this game. That one was knocked out of the park. The blink of an eye. 3-1 St. Louis. And more proof that, especially in the case of Garcia, you don't necessarily have to be the guy that throws 95, 96, 97. But if you can move it, place it, you can win. And Garcia's topped out at 89 tonight.
Yeah, most of the time he's lived with his fastball at the topped out speed of about 88. And you saw there 99. But, you know, his changeup would be 80. Slider, curveball, everything going his way, changes speeds. Zip was part of the big free team trade that they had with Cincinnati and Cleveland. He's been with the American League and been a very good setup man. He's had the most appearances in the American League in the last few years, over 200 since 2010, and 51 holds during that time.
2 runners on for Descalso. First pitch, swinging away, shallow center, and put away by A.J. Pollock. So the Cardinals strand 2, but they pick up 2. Matt Holliday is first of the season. Birds on top. Payne, and with that swing, line drive homer out to left. It's given the Cardinals a 3-1 lead. It's a mix of veterans and some of the youngsters this year, one of them being Pete Kozma. More on Pete. Let's check in with Jim. Jim.
Dan, if you watch Pete Kozma, you can't help but notice what an even-keeled guy he is. Called up late last season, put at shortstop, played into the postseason, never seemed to be affected by the magnitude of the situation. The most excited he ever got in his career, maybe that postseason comeback against the Nationals, which he had a key hit. Nope, he says winning the state championship back in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He said that was for the whole thing. Dan?
Well, a little different levels, Al.
Okay.
However, it's nice to hear that he's calm. He's relaxed at this level. We saw that in spring training. He seemed to be a different looking player coming off his success from a year ago. I thought it was great. When Kozma had that hit, he was interviewed after the game on the field, after Game 5 against Washington. And before they started the celebration and popping the champagne and having the fun that they did, they waited specifically for Pete Kozma to get inside that clubhouse. And they said, get in the middle of things, big guy, because you're the reason we're here. Pretty neat scene.
He really grew up. From September to the end of the postseason, Pete got exposed in so many different ways, and he answered the challenge. And you're right, if he didn't play as well as he did in September, they wouldn't have got there. They wouldn't have got by Washington.
Down the left field line and hooking foul. Home run distance, but pulled foul. Martin Prado, big inning here for Garcia. You're in the 6th. You've got 2, 3, and 4 in the lineup for Arizona, and you've been given a 2-run lead.
Prado's an outstanding hitter. Good, solid, gets, one of the league leaders in hits. Last few years, 300 hitter, and yet he's 1 for 14 against Jaime Garcia.
Home run by Holiday, the 3rd off of Trevor Cahill in his career. No other player has hit more than 2 off of Cahill. Should be a big start in so many ways for Jaime Garcia to be a number 2 in this rotation, to be a guy that you could count on to win on the road, get off to a good start, pitching away from Busch Stadium.
Yeah, that's really important to have success away from Busch Stadium.
Ground ball, diving stop by Carpenter, and out at first is Craig. Was able to receive it.
Nice job by Alan Craig right there. The throw a little bit offline, but Carpenter did a great job to get that ball, get up and throw, and then great concentration by Alan Craig. Now watch him come up here, throws it right into the runner, and Alan Craig, good concentration right there, slides into foul territory, catching the ball and avoiding a collision with the runner coming down the line.
Those are the kind that you get worried about, that left arm being extended, runner coming through. We've seen that injury all types of times. Garcia steps, throws, makes the play, takes a hit away from Aaron Hill. 2 away.
Talk about Alan Craig, who got a tough throw with the runner coming down the line. It's into foul territory, so you see he slides over there into foul territory, receives the ball, and then with that nifty footwork avoids the runner coming in and a collision.
Also a good sign, Al. That's 10 ground ball outs for Jaime Garcia in 5 2/3. Two outs and nobody on. Paul Goldschmidt is grounded out, struck out 0 for 2.
You just have to be careful with him because he has tremendous power.
Kirk Gibson was talking about for Goldschmidt, this being such a big year for him. How you have to make the adjustments. There's now a book on him. Pitchers know his strengths, the weaknesses. You don't get away with that raw talent. 3-1.
Look how he sets up when he stands there waiting for the pitcher to come. There he holds the bat, rests it on his shoulder, and the barrel is pointed downward.
Let's take it outside, and a 2-out walk issued by Garcia. New season for the Cardinals and at McDonald's. Try the new premium McWrap and visit cardinals.com/McWrap to get $6 tickets. McDonald's and the Cardinals, fresh is in season.
Request in the bullpen active here, and they'd love to see him get through this 6th inning. Keep it a very positive. But Montero is 2 for 2, and he's standing at the plate.
Home run, solo shot back in the 2nd, and a single in the 4th. Runner at first and 2 down.
.90-mile-an-hour fastball, so you can see right there that's the hardest pitch he's thrown, where he's just been very efficient, not trying to overextend himself.
It's Mujica, the right-hander, throwing in the pen for St. Louis.
This for his 7th inning. Hopefully.
But you bring up an interesting point. How will it all unfold now that you have Mott not at the back end of games? We know that Boggs will get the first crack at closing. I think we get the sense that Mujica will stay put in the 7th, and then Rosenthal will be your 8th inning guy.
That's what I think what is the plan, a plan. But it's now 3-0, and we might see Mujica this inning. This would have been one of those times where you could have pitched Randy Schote if you would have had him ready, because he only would face a left-handed batter. There's no way they would pinch hit for Montero. But you don't let Randy face too many right-handed batters.
3-0 pitch.
This is the pitch here that you've got to be careful with.
And now it's back-to-back walks. Derek Lilliquist hops out of the dugout. Quick visit now with Garcia. Will that be it for Jaime?
Usually, and Derek now walking out there, but he was trotting out. Gives Mujica more time. A senior or a veteran reliever, I'm sure, is plenty warm or will be warm if they want to make a pitching change. They would love to see Jaime finish this inning and keep it a 3-1 lead.
What's on tap? It's game 3 of the series tomorrow night. We'll have it for you here on Fox Sports Midwest. Cardinals at Diamondbacks. Jason Kubel. Will he be in the lineup? You would have to assume so, with Lance Lynn, the righty, on the mound. And Kubel is on the bench tonight. You see his tremendous numbers from a season ago. So 2 on, 2 outs, and a strike. Earlier this inning, Garcia was not getting that call.
May have been the fact that it's a right-handed batter this time around and a rookie. That Jaime jumping ahead should spell success against a young, overly aggressive hitter.
The 0-1. Make it 0-2. Pitch selection. You have him 0-2. You just mentioned the resume of the young hitter. What do you come with here, Al?
Well, he's got that great changeup. He's got the cutter that he can come in on, a slider. You know, you could throw a couple of the curveball, but I like the changeup against him. And then maybe later on, you could, after you throw a couple down in the dirt, if you're still up there, you could try to get it high and away and get him to chase it. Change up there. He almost turns it over a little bit. But that one too far outside, he wouldn't bait.
One-two pitch. In the dirt, 2-2.
Tried the change up. There's the slider. Oh, he's almost negated his advantage of 0-2. Give him that 2-2. They'll concede one run, but they're playing real deep, trying to keep the tying run on first base from scoring.
Garcia one strike away from sending us to the 7th. The Cardinals with a 2-run lead. It's 3-1. From 0-2 to a full count, runners up with the next pitch. You get a ball in the gap, and you would have to assume this game could be tied.
Well, there's certain things you really learn as a pitcher. When you're in a game like this, you're on your last leg. The last thing you want to do is have 2 outs in a full count where you give those runners a chance to get the extra base. His last pitch of the game.
And he walked him. So after getting the first 2, he has walked the bases loaded. Immediately he looked over to Mike Matheny and the Cardinals coaching staff as if to say, leave me in. I want to get out of this, but that will not be the case as Mike will have a double switch. It's our Chevy call to the pen. Garcia's walked the bases loaded. Mejica coming in when we come back. Fourth, and a look at Carpenter's night. Been involved in a lot of plays tonight, both offensively and down at third. A couple of diving stops that he's had. That was one of his best plays, spinning to his left. Matt Carpenter, a difference maker tonight.
One of those guys who are always going to get his uniform dirty, always very active. Edward Mojica will come in here in the 6th inning and try to clean things up. 2 outs and the bases loaded and face the pinch hitter Kubel. Mojica last season, forget about that 0-3 stuff, but when he came to the Cardinals at the trade deadline, everything fell in place. 7th inning was solved. Boggs had the 8th, Mott had the 9th, and the Cardinals went to postseason.
Here is Jason Kubel off the bench. He takes a ball. Bases loaded. 3 consecutive walks by Garcia. Goldschmidt, Montero, and Marte all aboard.
Mujica can save Garcia. But those 3 last walks kind of really leave a sour taste in your mouth.
Still, though, for the most part, you can live with what you see from Garcia tonight. Outside of the 3 walks.
And if he can stretch it another inning or 2. Got to go at least 6. Mujica has that great split finger.
Two and 2. Kubel coming off a very good season a year ago. Came over to Arizona, really known as a gaps hitter. You would think that would serve him well, the National League West, with this ballpark, Coors Field, Petco, AT&T. 30 home runs.
I mentioned that last night. Kevin Towers and Kurt Gibson really did not like their clubhouse atmosphere. They got rid of a lot of the star players. Had too many home run strikeout guys, so they tried to get the fiery, pesky type hitters, guys that really battle at the plate. That's what they did last night against Wainwright. And then Kubel gave them a lot more than they were looking for.
The 2-2.
So after splitter, then you get that fastball. And here you are, the merry-go-round. 2 outs, bases loaded, 3-2 pitch.
This could be your ball game right here. The 3-2 from Mujica, foul back.
Eight grand slams. Great average, 372 with the bases loaded.
On the outside corner and a strikeout for Mujica. No argument from Kubel. The Diamondbacks strand the bases loaded. .13. And Milwaukee will be in town. The Cardinals will wear the new alternate uniforms for the first time, and you have a chance to take home that jersey, the alternate jersey, presented by Lumiere. Cardinals.com/promotions to pick up your tickets. Great promotional weekend. The Stan the Man harmonica on Friday, alternate jersey on Saturday, and then the Platinum and Gold Glove Award for Yadier Molina on the Sunday. And that jersey will feature St. Louis on the front. Heath Bell takes over for the Arizona Diamondbacks, the former closer with San Diego, briefly with Miami. And he's found a home now with his former GM that had him in San Diego and brings him here to Arizona. And it's our call to the bullpen. Heath Bell is in.
I was talking to Kevin Towers, and he said that he still has his velocity, but his breaking ball is not anywhere near it used to be. He was one of the absolute best. He was a great setup man early when Trevor Hoffman was still closing, and then he started closing himself.
And that is driven out to deep left center field, and this one is gone. It's a home run. How about that pop? Pete Kozma. Welcome to Arizona, Heath Bell. Solo shot. The second Cardinals home run. And that makes it 4-1.
That was over the 413 mark and up into the second little porch area they have. And look at these guys, are so happy. If Pete can kind of do those things, you know, and play good defense, we really have something here.
Part of the double switch was Shane Robinson. And he looks at a strike. What a spring for Shane Robinson. Arguably, statistically the best. And no doubt about this. Home run for Kozma.
Fastball, and look where it goes. Up in that second depth. Hits that young lady over the yellow line. She's fine, but nice going, boyfriend. Jumps out of the way. Don't protect your girl.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Check swing, and it's 0-2.
But you know, Heath Bell was the real big. Oh, now he's going to help her. Hard way to get a ball.
Well, she's got the stitches on her cheek to prove it.
But you know, Heath Bell, then he had 48, 50, 48 saves in 2009 through 11. Then he signs a big free agent contract with Miami, and he had 19 saves for them, but in 27 chances. And many of those blown saves came in April. And it was a tough season for him down in Miami.
Home run makes it 4-1, and that's taken low. You know, you think about Kevin Towers and what he did in San Diego. He had the combination of Trevor Hoffman and Scott Linebrink. He had Hoffman and Heath Bell. Then it was Heath Bell and Mike Adams. So he's trying to duplicate that here with the Diamondbacks. J.J. Putz is their closer. They have Hernandez. We saw him last night. He's been terrific last year or so in Arizona. And then now the addition of Heath Bell.
Yeah, they have those power arms from the right side. There's KT, Kevin Towers, the general manager.
Now, I know a lot of people looked at, and rightfully so, Waka, Tavares, Wong, and some of the great stories that came out of spring training. But one of the best stories, and maybe the best camp of anybody, you could make a case for Pete Kozma. He was really good in camp, kind of overlooked because it was a given to an extent after what he did in postseason play last year and down the stretch. But boy, he's been good.
You're right. Adams had 17 RBIs to lead the team in spring, right? Kozma had 15.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
He had 3 home runs and hit 359. And we've talked about it too, that you know, you get a ball kind of in that inner half and up a little bit, he can jump on that pitch.
Robinson with the walk.
Center fielder John
Just off the plate. Good eye by Robinson.
Now you've been in that spot before. You're a closer, and then you have your issues, and now for Heath Bell, everybody knows what took place a year ago. What is he feeling right now? Because you're trying to make that favorable impression with a new club.
I'm cringing as you're asking the question because
bad memories or
well,
what?
Yeah, it really is, because one day you're on top, and then you're fighting just for. But the fact that you were so good at one time, it just magnifies when you have your problems.
Time is called.
Somebody's a journeyman and they go out and have a bad start to the season. They go, well, it's typical. But if you've been an elite and the best closer in the league for 3 years, and then all of a sudden you're still having problems, everybody notices it. You can't escape it. And you keep on saying, all I need is one good outing that I can build some confidence.
This is hammered down the right field line. Will it stay fair? It's gone! Wow! Towering shot by John Jay. Third home run for the Cardinals tonight. Second in this inning. And the hits just keep on coming against Heath Bell.
Mike Hansen and his family loved that little blast by John Jay.
That wasn't little. That was a blast.
Like you see a blast like that, and you say you have to hit more than 4 home runs like you did last year. That breaking ball just breaking right into the plane of his swing and right off the foul pole. That was pretty.
So a 2-run homer. And it's a 6-1 St. Louis lead as some of the folks begin to head for the exits.
And as Kevin Towers told me yesterday, Heath Bell still has good velocity, but it's his breaking ball that he just can't get by a hitter.
We saw that. It was on a tee to John Jay.
He's throwing 93, 94.
So the last 3 years, 1.93 ERA, then very respectable 2.44, and then last year over 5. Carpenter hits it down the right field line. That's a fair ball, and extra bases for the Cardinal third baseman. Matt Carpenter with his second double tonight. A home run, a walk, a 2-run homer, a double, and in steps Matt Holliday.
Maggie out to pay a visit. It's one of those you really don't want to go, but there you see another pitch that on the inner half he's able to turn on it, much like his other double that way. And this is not a comfortable discussion either.
Well, these two have seen each other quite often, and Bell has had the better of the matchup. But that was primarily before last year. 1 for 13 is Holliday, and the time spent with the Rockies and Heath Bell in San Diego.
And I think that gives an indication of how good Heath Bell was. Now, it doesn't mean he can't recapture it, but right now it's a struggle. And you can see hitters are just running up there. There's no fear factor at all right now.
Cardinals with a run in the 4th, 2 in the 6th, 3 in the 7th. 0-2 on Matt Holliday.
Look at his mannerisms. They are much different than when he was on top of the world as an elite closer.
And a strikeout of Holiday. A sarcastic cheer from the home crowd here in Arizona. Alan Craig. RBI ground out to short back in the fourth. Runner at second is Matt Carpenter. Craig is 0 for 3. One-0 pitch by Bell. 1 ball, 1 strike. Heath Bell gave up 8 runs in 4 appearances against the Cardinals last year. He's already served up home runs to Cosma and Jay.
And Molina getting for a big home run to tie a game where he was coming in to save it.
That's a base hit out to left. Carpenter held up at third. Alan Craig with a base hit. Runners at the corners.
Fastball just must be straight as can be. And Bell is through as we're going to have a double switch.
It's Mujica's spot due up. Matt Adams did have a bat in his hands. Josh Colementor, a right-hander in the pen, be called upon by Kirk Gibson, and we'll see the double switch.
Is that Chavez going to play on the field?
Eric Chavez, the longtime major leaguer.
Colementor will come in to pitch.
Left to wonder right now for Kirk Gibson what's happening with Heath Bell. St. Louis, Oscar Taveras, Michael Wacha, Colton Wong, and you've tweeted in Oscar Taveras, the outfielder. That's brought to you by AT&T. Mujica hitting for himself with runners at first and third.
Well, we went 7th inning is his, but what a job he did. Cahill had great numbers. You see our Chevy call the bullpen. Josh Kohlmeyer. There's Eric Chavez. From afar, he was kind of one of my favorites. Eric Chavez for years at Oakland.
I wonder when the last time Mahika had a bat in his hands. Cole Mentor last season, 28 games.
He's had like 59 games over the last 2 years with the Diamondbacks and split time between the rotation and bullpen. 59 appearances and 35 starts. A lot better swinging away, didn't he?
He sure did.
He did bat July 28, 2011.
Mahika bounces it foul, and that's an out. 2 away. And it brings in Molina with runners at first and third. A key moment in this game, the strikeout. Last inning with the bases loaded. Mahika striking out Jason Kubel.
Kubel was looking for a splitter, and he got the fastball.
Yachty takes a ball. Molina tonight has walked, singled, grounded out.
You give Yachty a lot of credit on that strikeout because you had a good hitter that thought he was going to get a splitter, and he threw the fastball right by him, and the bat never left his shoulder.
2-0. Descalso on deck. Cole Mentor is the 4th pitcher used for Arizona. Cahill, the lefty Sip, Heath Bell, and now this right-hander.
Last season, right-handed batters only hit .215 off it. Cole Mentor.
The 2-0 pitch. Molina with a high fly ball into right. Marte is there. Well, we said during BP the ball was flying out of here. After BP, it's flying out of here. Starts with Holiday. Added to it, Pete Cosmo. How about down the right field line? Off the batted jag. 6-1, St. Louis. place to find the seat you want. Now they've added StubHub fan rewards. You can earn a little extra with your tickets, like seat upgrades. So head to StubHub and get your tickets today. Mahika in that familiar spot, the 7th inning, after getting the final out in the 6th. The ground ball that's pulled foul by Cliff Pennington. Talking with Edward Mahika, Al, the other day, I said, where did you learn that splitter? And he said, really, it's almost developed into a changeup in how he holds it. And he says, I try to throw it as hard as I can, and it just seemed to have that kind of movement where the bottom drops out of it. So he said, I'm not really sure you'd call it a traditional splitter anymore. He said, I know a lot of people do, but I'm gripping it a little bit differently. And he started doing this around the 2007 season, and he's really perfected it. Kozma charging and makes the play.
Nice play there by Pete. Pennington really struggling offensively, their shortstop. You know, as you watch Pete come in on this ball, not easy, then has to make that exchange on the run, get something behind the throw, and gets it by a step. Last night, you know, Ian Kennedy had a very effective changeup, and it looked like he threw what we call the Balkan changeup. You know, it's kind of, instead of the circle change, it's kind of like you throw 3 fingers on top of the ball.
That's exactly what he's talking about here, Mahika. And Edward said it was something that once he tinkered with it, little different pressures and fooling around with it on the tips of his fingers, he said that's when he really started to have the success of the ball just dropping off the table. Right field, Robinson, part of the double switch last inning, makes the catch. There's 2 outs. So Mahika's recorded 3 outs in this ball game. Todd in Bloomington, Illinois. Are the Cardinals going to wear the red caps on the road all year? Carsoup.com. Email the booth question, and a lot of people have tweeted at us about that. The red caps, and the votes were in. And there was some talk that there would be the blue caps on the road. But to start this season, we'll see the red. And my understanding is we'll also see those dark caps as well. Little mix and match. There's a ground ball. Base hit into center for Parra. We will see the patch, the left sleeve, the Cardinals uniform. Our understanding is in San Francisco, not only will it be a celebration of their championship, but also a celebration by their Hall of Famers to honor Stan the Man. They've got you know, so many of the greats that thank goodness are still alive and still come to the ballpark. Yep.
You know, Marichal,
Cepeda,
Gaylord, hopefully. And I had a good look at that patch on the Cardinals celebrating the life of Stan Musial, the greatest Cardinal ever. And it is the classiest patch I've ever seen. That's Stan's autograph that runs through it. Is 6.
You see how it's gray inside the circle. The Cardinals, depending on the uniform that they will wear, that'll be white inside the circle, or the cream base color on those alternate jerseys, so it'll blend in nicely. But really a lot of thought was put into that patch, in particular about the autograph, because you know, Stan was able to reach out to so many fans by signing an autograph.
So generous to so many in Cardinal Nation.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Chopper to short. Kozma to Descalso. Nice work by Edward Mahika. One of the storylines in this ball game tonight. It's 6-1 after 7. In St. Louis, Bommarito Sports Update with the one and only Pat Paris. Thank you, Pat. Looking forward to the post-game show with Rick Horton, Jim Edmonds, and Pat Paris. We're in the 8th inning. Pitch taken low by Daniel Descalso. 2 balls and no strikes. Cardinals second baseman for the second consecutive night in that starting lineup. 0 for 3 tonight. Intriguing matchup tomorrow. Lance Lynn, the 18-game winner and all-star, looked a lot better in his final start of spring. Then you have Brandon McCarthy on the other side, who had just a horrific injury on a comebacker. Was hit in the head, taken to the hospital, and slicing down the left field line and foul.
Had the brain hemorrhaging, water on the brain, had neural surgery. So he's not only thankful to be pitching once again, just thankful to have a normal life.
The 2-2. Descalso strikes out. Just out of his reach. Didn't quite have the look of a TV repairman, though.
Pete, 2 for 3 today.
Everything stayed in place.
That was what I was worried about.
You weren't watching the baseball.
Thankful.
The things that'll amuse you at a ballpark, Al. As Cosma hits it out of play. One ball, one strike. Rub up that new baseball. Baseballs are rubbed up prior to the games. Whole fleet of them ready.
Unless you're in Cincinnati.
And John Smoltz or Chris Carpenter's on the mound. Here's a 2-1. Two away. AT&T Uverse Rewind. Let's get you caught up if you're just tuning in to Fox Sports Midwest. Garcia 5 2/3. Montero 2 for 2 RBI run scored. That was a home run early on. Holiday, though, broke a 1-1 tie. Line drive homer out to left, his first of the season. Cardinals added 3 more after that. They lead it 6-1.
I was a little surprised that Kirk Gibson brought in Heath Bell in such a close ball game, but maybe he wanted to find out real quickly what he had there. Because I was led to believe that they were not sold on him being a solid pitcher again.
Curveball at 69 miles an hour as the hard throwing Trevor Rosenthal getting ready to make his debut.
I thought last night's ball game we got Zepchinski pitched very effectively, and so did Joe Kelly. There's a little concern to me, and of course you're going to see Trevor Rosenthal, and I think you got to pitch Boggs anyway in the ninth.
Fought off by Robinson and a base hit into right.
What would you expect?
On base for the second time, part of the double switch. He walked, came around to score. The home run by Jay, and now he picks up a single into right.
Oh, he had a tremendous spring, and there They say he's a high ball hitter, and he kind of proved it right there. But the reason I say you got to pitch Boggs is I don't know if he pitched on Friday or not, but Cardinals, none of the relievers have pitched since Friday other than the guys that were in the game last night. So key guys have to get in there and tune up. You got the game tomorrow, and then you have an off day, so you can do it.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to John Jay. Jay with a fly ball into center. Fires there and makes the catch. The Cardinals strand a runner. Rosenthal coming in, the hard thrower. When we come back. Key at bat in this ball game, and that's pitch by pitch here with Mexico.
Well, he starts him out with a splitter. The bases are loaded. Now they're splitter. You got a 3-1 game, 3 straight splitters. Then he hung one right there, and he got away with it. Misses 3-1, fouls another splitter off, and then he freezes him on a fastball. That was the ball game right there. A great example of why some people say the save is watered down, because sometimes it's a key at bat early in the game. Chevy called the bullpen, Trevor Rosenthal. You kind of believe that he will be the Cardinals' 8th inning man while Mott is out. Boggs, our normal 8th inning man, will move to the closer role. But Trevor can do just about anything.
Here's a grounder to Cosma. One away. Cardinals finding that they have depth in the organization. Career saves. Mott with 54. 42 of those coming last year. Rest of the team with 42 combined.
And Dan, last season, Jason Mott had every save the entire year by the Cardinal pitching staff. He had 42 to tie Kimbrel for the National League lead, and no other pitcher had a save last season. Hopefully there'll be a bunch, get a bunch of opportunities in Jason's absence, and we hope he'll be back soon.
Last pitch at 97. Here's Paul Goldschmidt. Jen Langosh of MLB.com. She covers the Cardinals. And she came up with that stat about Heath Bell. The 8 runs in 4 appearances against the Cardinals last year. Tonight, home runs to Cosma and Jay, and that's what busted the game wide open after that key strikeout we just saw moments ago.
Talk about a momentum changer. You maintain a 2-run lead, you escape that jam, and then they came back and piled on 3.
Al, I'll ask you this question. Are you one of those guys that believes that you have, so to speak, so many bullets in that arm, and you don't always want to use them? You want to keep your arm as fresh as you can? Or do you think that the way that you build up the arm is to keep it in shape like the rest of your body? Throw, 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 and work it out just like anything else.
Well, I'm a firm believer in throwing and long tossing to get your arm strength.
And bring that up, and that's at 100 from Rosenthal. I asked Trevor yesterday, I said, all right, tell me about how you stay in shape with your arm. And he's with you. He said, I've heard the same thing, Dan. I've heard people say you only have so many throws in that arm. He said, but I'm a big believer. And he said, now I'm young, so maybe I'm a little different than guys that are been in the league for 10, 15 years. He said, but I long toss. And I said, well, what if you pitch 2 or 3 innings and the next day would you long toss? He said, I long toss no matter what, every day. He said, I go to 300 feet and I just air it out. And here he is. He's a guy that is going to be a sensational big leaguer if he stays healthy.
You know, he may want to ultimately be a starter, but I think he's going to find that if he's used consistently out of the bullpen, he's going to fall in love with the aspect that every day he comes to the ballpark, he has a chance to compete.
Yeah, he was telling me, he said, I was disappointed in the fact that I am not starting. He said, hey, but don't get me wrong, I'm excited to be here. He said, my goal is to be a major league starter, but this is where I need to be. So be it.
You know, the one thing that I will say this, and I know this from experience, you take a young pitcher and you put them in the bullpen, you do kind of retard their growth, because as a starter you need 4 pitches. Out of the bullpen, you're lucky if you need 2, and you know he has an exceptional fastball.
Look at that. 100 again on the gun. Twice he hits triple digits. Strikes out 2 of the 3 that he saw. Wow. West is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. And by your quality Ford dealers. Partner, how much fun is that to watch Trevor Rosenthal?
Well, he's such a weapon coming out of the bullpen, but he's not going to throw 100 miles an hour for 100 pitches, you know, if you're in the rotation. So Mike Matheny has done a nice job of explaining to him that right now you could be a weapon. We don't know if you could be a successful major league starter. Could you go beyond 5 innings? And I'm sure he could with the confidence he's gained, but he'll gain even more pitching out of that bullpen. And like I said, he'll be used in such a significant role that he's going to fall in love with it.
2 doubles tonight for Matt Carpenter. Lefty in, or Chevy called to the pen.
Matt Reynolds, who been pitching, this is his first year with the Diamondbacks since coming over from Colorado. Very durable left-hander. Both their left-handers, Sip and Reynolds who are new to the ball club.
Think about this, though, Al. Rosenthal said when he was starting that he felt he wasn't at his best until the 5th inning. And he said, I know a lot of people talk about letting it loose. He said, I hear about it. You know, you come in for 3 outs and you just let it go. He said, but in my experience, I didn't feel good and right and gunning it as Carpenter skies one into left center until the 5th inning. And he said, that's when I was throwing my hardest after 4 or 5 innings of work.
Right. So he's Justin Verlander, who starts out at 93 and ends up at 99.
That's the guy he pointed to.
Sure, I knew where it's going.
Yeah. And he said that's a real key for him, is trying to figure out exactly how to get that point and get to there. How he felt as a starter in the 5th or 6th, but coming in as a reliever and really trying to amp it up and get his body in that same frame of mind, so to speak, as a starter when he was hitting the 5th or the 6th. What a talent. Opened up a lot of eyes around Major League Baseball with what he did on the national stage last year.
Absolutely. And I guess thinking about what you just said and kind of looking at his record, you're pitching in minor leagues, Dan, and, you know, if he, by the 5th inning, he's probably pretty close to his pitch limit. So how many times do you get to go beyond, say, 6 innings to where he felt good? I like him where he is right now.
I'm with you.
And I'm telling you, if they want to eventually make him a starter, what he's learning in the bullpen right now is only going to help him. But,
ask Adam Wainwright.
But it gets away from using all of your pitches if you're going to be coming in as a late inning reliever.
I think one of the questions, too, in talking with scouts in spring training, they wondered about how efficient is that breaking ball. You know, could you go through a lineup 2 or 3 times? And obviously they're not worried about the fastball, but the secondary pitches, just how good are those? And there's a line out off the bat of Holiday. And I think it's fair to say now we've seen at times just ridiculous, dominating secondary pitches in spring training from Trevor Rosenthal. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of your St. Louis Cardinals. Here's Craig, who has a single tonight. Go along with an RBI.
Mitchell Boggs, that's what I said, non-safe situation, but he needs this 9th inning. A couple psychological reasons.
As Craig hits a fly ball into right center. We'll see Mitchell Boggs coming in. We'll talk about that when we come back. Bottom of the 9th rolls in when we return. St. Louis on top in game 2 of this 3-game set.
Garcia went 5 2/3, only allowed 2 hits, home run by Montero, and then he kind of finished in a negative sense where he walked the bases loaded, and with great help from Mujica, with the bases loaded 2 outs, he struck out the pinch hitter Kubel, and that left the game at 3-1. Then they added on, and now we'll have our Mid-America Chevy dealers call the bullpen, and Mitchell Boggs will hopefully close this one out.
Different chapter of his career recorded last year as he took another step into being not just a good reliever, but a great reliever. The holds team record at 30+. Was the 8th inning setup man. He has had 4 saves in his career. This is a non-save situation, but as Al mentioned, it's time to give him some work and the unique setup that he has.
Well, you know, last year he set up a little bit with a closed stance, but he's accentuated it this year. If you're the batter, you're looking at his back. Almost you see the entire 41 on his back, and it really is deceptive in the fashion that, you know, you can't see the release point. He throws hard enough anyway, but it just makes it even that much more devastating. During the World Baseball Classic, even Ryan Braun mentioned something to him that, you know, hey, this is really effective for you because I can't see your release point. And so he's even gone to this more extreme, and I kind of like it. Anytime you have deception, you're fooling the hitter.
That's popped foul and out of play off the bat of Alfredo Marte. There's a conversation I had with Mitchell about that, and I said, well, tell me about holding a runner on. He said, really, it's not a big deal to me. He said, even though I get in this setup, and he stood up from his stool and basically showed us this, and then he said, all I have to do is just pick up that front leg, boom, come to the plate. There's that nasty pitch. 90 miles an hour, and the strikeout recorded by Mitchell Boggs.
It's right. He just opens up, and his body just comes through. But a hitter, right-handed hitter, thinks he's throwing into their dugout. And there's that little breaking ball, tight rotation, off the plate, gets a hitter to get himself out.
Now going back to last inning, that was Paul Goldschmidt and Miguel Montero, 2 very good major league hitters that Trevor Rosenthal was just blowing it by them. I'd like to watch sometimes when unique players take to the mound, come to the plate, and watching the other players and what they do. And all the Cardinals were at the top step watching Rosenthal. Is that way in spring training? Everything just kind of stops, and they want to watch this guy just throw the baseball. As Boggs misses with that pitch outside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Mentioned the 4 saves Boggs acquired back in 11 when we were all in search of a closer. Jason Mott blew the save opening day and then kind of lost it. The job. Boggs got a chance. Sanchez, and then it was Salas that ended up saving 24 games to lead the staff in 11, and then towards the end of the year Mott took over again.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
How about the job a year ago that Mike Matheny did in the psychology of Mitchell Boggs? Worked on his psyche, said, I believe in you. You're going to be a key ingredient to my ball club. Showed him the confidence even before he believed in himself. But then he led the National League in holds last year, and now you've got that real confident pitcher that nobody's real concerned about Mitchell Boggs closing out games now.
We talk so much about guys coming into camp in shape. You're also seeing a slimmed down version of Mitchell Boggs. He was on the Cardinals cruise with me, Al, and first thing I said to him, I said, man, you look in great condition, great shape. And he said, yeah, I've dropped about 15, 20 pounds. And
all these guys get married and they have great cooks.
Things change.
Taking better care of themselves.
Hard hit to the right side, knocked down by Craig. Boggs to the bag for out number 2. A reminder, Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live is coming up. Jim Edmonds Rick Horton, Pat Paris, all standing by for the post-game show.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. But in a game like this, no one will get a save. But tell me why Mojica doesn't deserve one.
I've said that time and again. I'll follow up the point with this. How come we don't see closers come in that spot in the game?
I've had a conversation with Whitey Herzog one time. He said, I'd have a hard time not bringing in my closer or my best guy when the game's on the line, like you said. Why do I have to wait till the 9th inning?
Exactly.
Especially with the compensation they get now. You know, I mean, sometimes a game is on the line earlier in the game, and sometimes even when the save is given to a closer, he has an easy inning.
I'm sure that's something that Mike Matheny very watchful of right now. You talked about it, Al. You want to get him work, but then you walk that fine line of saying, okay, how much work do we want to get our guy here? We're trying to keep him sharp, but in a save situation tomorrow, you don't want to see a closer have to have a heavy workload in a non-save situation like tonight.
So get through in the 13th pitch. I'll have to go 14. But yeah, you're right. And that's up to the responsibility of the pitcher. He's got to know he's out there because he hasn't pitched since late last week. So to stay sharp for tomorrow, hopefully in a safe situation, I need work today. But then I can't go and have a 20-25 pitch inning.
1-2 pitch in the air, left side. And the Cardinals have their first win of the 2013 campaign. The catch made by Carpenter in foul territory. Holiday got things going. John Jay with a long home run. Everything clicked tonight here in game number 2.
Yeah, yesterday was a little sloppy. This was more Cardinal baseball. This is what we were going to expect to see from the 2012 team. This was a nice game and really nice that Garcia picks up the win.
The final out recorded by Carpenter near the stand. His post-game show coming up.